Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is the first of what I think will be many vlogs on business and reptiles. So this is the first vlog to cover how I work towards profitability for my business and to help feed my family and support my family with reptiles. So we're going to get into that. Before that, let me just give you a little background. And I'm going to say something really controversial that you'll have to listen to the end and understand what I'm saying before you make comments and rake me over the coals in the comment section about what I'm about to say. So first, the controversial statement. Profit is the most important thing in any business. In fact, the definition of a business is an entity created to obtain profit. So, instantly, that means that profit is the driving factor of a business. That's why they exist. That means that a common trope I hear a lot is animal care is the number one thing, and you always have to be focused on your animal care, which, by the way, I agree that you always have to focus on your animal care. And another trope I hear is that you need to be passionate in order to really do animals in a business. So we're going to talk about both of those things. But first off, remember, this is a business. Profitability is number one. That doesn't mean, and I want to emphasize this, that good animal care is not important. It's crucial, in fact, and we're going to talk about that. But profitability as a business is your number one goal. And let's talk about that a little bit more. But before I do, let me dive into a little bit of my background. So I own a business currently, not the reptile one, and that business is the largest laser tag in my state, and I have a great time running that business, and it's a lot of fun, and I've been doing that business or similar thing for the last 6 years. So I have a little bit of experience running my own business. So that's where I'm coming from. That's a little bit of how I know what I'm about to talk about. So let's now dive in to that very controversial statement that I just made. Profit is number one above all else when you have a business. Okay, I've just told you that profit in a business is more important than anything else. I am a heathen. I am a jerk. I am careless. Whatever other terrible thing I just said. But let me make my case. All right, the first thing is, why is profit so important to a business? Well, that's literally what it's designed to do, is to create profit. If you don't care about making a profit, let's say you just want to make some money on the side to help you take care of your animals, that is a hobbyist. And if by chance you have a really, really altruistic heart and you just care about making sure animals are safe and happy and healthy, and you want to do something where maybe you get money for that, but that's the priority is not to use that money for yourself, but to use it for animals, that's a nonprofit. So when I say in a business, profit is the number one priority, that is because that's what it's designed for. If you want to do something else, there are plenty of other ways to be with reptiles, around reptiles, or other animals that are not designed for profit. So let's just get that clear. That is why business is focused first on profit. Now, I want to say something very important here. Does that mean that we neglect the care of our animals as a business? No, absolutely not. In fact, this can damage the business if you are unethical or you don't care for your animals. It can actually, long-term, make your business fall apart. And I'll get into that in just a sec, but I want to tell a story. Well, it's kind of a story. When I was growing up and younger, there were things called puppy mills. Now, I don't know if they're completely gone, but they do seem to have gone down in usage or in people doing them. And a puppy mill essentially was somebody or a business that was just pumping out as many puppies as they could. They didn't care about good breeding. They didn't care about health. They just put out as many dogs as they could. And this turned out to be a huge problem. We had a lot of dogs that people could get for cheap, and that was part of the thing is, hey, this dog doesn't cost $8,000, it costs $200 or $80. So anyway, these puppy mills would just churn out these puppies. People would buy them, and they would end up having dogs that fairly early in life had health problems. They had to go to the vet, and those dogs were more expensive in the long run than an $8,000 well-bred dog, because of the vet bills and keeping them alive and all their health issues that they had if they lived long at all. So these puppy mills eventually, I think, for ethics reasons, a lot were shut down, for humanitarian reasons, and eventually I think they're mostly a thing of the past. I'm sure it still occurs, but not to the degree as when I was younger. However, the trends in markets tend to be repetitive. So what I mean by that is, just because this problem has mostly abated in dogs, reptiles are an up-and-coming market. And it is likely, and I've already seen certain people doing this, that people will create, if you will, a reptile mill, where the goal is to pump out as many animals as possible. And this is regardless of safety or ethics. And this will eventually either get government involved, or you'll lose customers because your animals are unhealthy or unfit. So this is a bad business practice, to just produce as many animals you can without regard to health or care. Now, what do I do for my business, which its number one goal is to create profit? Well, I'm not as short-sighted as some business people might be, and I figure the best way for me to have profit long-term is to breed the best animals, health-wise, genetics-wise, that I can, and keep them as safely and healthily as possible, their parents and them until they're sold, so that the quality of animal is high and that it's protected, hopefully, genetically against health problems in the future. And once I have a happy customer, they are much more likely to come back and purchase from me again down the road in 13 years when that first one reaches the end of its lifespan. They may be looking for another. Or in 2 years when they want to start their own breeding project. So essentially, the goal here, and you guys have seen my videos, I put a lot of effort into the tanks, the enclosures that my animals have. I follow all the minimums to a T, if not better. In fact, most of the time I do better than the minimum. And I do this to give my animals a happy, healthy life, so they will produce happy and healthy babies for my customers to enjoy. So yes, animal care is still crucial, but I cannot forget that my goal as a business is profit. I love these animals, and part of that is sometimes it's hard to let them go because we love them so much, it's hard to sell them. But as a business, my goal is to feed my family. My goal is to keep, to pay my taxes, to be a part of the community. So I must make a profit. I want to talk about another story and another problem that I see with reptile type businesses. And in my opinion, it is overbreeding. And what I mean by that is somebody gets excited, they want to start a reptile business, they buy a bunch of animals. And let's say for a moment that they actually can care for all those animals, top quality care. The problem I'm not referencing now is care. Let's say their care is top notch, but they buy a bunch of animals and they start breeding and they're having success and they're having a lot of babies. However, a new problem arises, which is they breed too many babies and they cannot sell them all. Again, number one priority of a business, to have profit. And what happens when I have too many mouths to feed and I cannot sell them fast enough? Well, my profit potential that was up here because I had tons of babies is now just losing and going down and down and down the longer those babies wait to be sold. And the more of them I have to sell, the longer that's going to take. So what is this? This is supply and demand. It's very important to keep supply and demand in focus when you're working on a business. I personally like to have my supply, let's say this is, demand's over here and supply is here. And I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story about this in a sec. But I like to have my demand be just a bit higher than my supply at all times. A lot of times you're trying to match the two and have equal supply and demand. I think that that's nearly impossible, so I would rather supply just a little less and have a waiting list than oversupply and not have enough people, not enough good homes for the animals I'm producing. And that's another key, is I want to make sure that they're going to good homes. And if I produce a lot of animals, I then become very incentivized, very, what is this word I'm searching for? Incentivized is good enough. Very incentivized to sell the animals to anyone just so I can get out from under the load, the overhead of keeping that animal alive. And that, in my opinion, is unethical. So it's very important that I make sure that my supply is just a little lower than my demand, so that the homes that these animals are going to are good, and that I can always place my animals in homes. Okay? So I'm going to tell you a quick story of a local breeder I know. He does a fantastic job with his panther chameleons. They're beautiful, they're well housed, takes great care of them. They grow well, they are healthy, but he has an astounding number of adult pairs that he's breeding and has over 48 babies, and that number keeps going up. He keeps having more babies. He keeps having more babies than he has purchases. And then the problem becomes, because he can't sell the babies, he's always losing money. And that's because he's feeding these babies without the cells going through. And food costs. Even if you grow your own food, you have to feed that food. So unless you have an apple orchard and lettuce and stuff, you're probably feeding your roaches and your crickets store-bought food. So you're still cutting into your profits the longer you have to feed food that gets fed to these babies, and the more of the food you have to feed to these babies is more food you have to produce. So essentially, he just keeps eating into his profits because he has too many. If he had started with, far less pairs than he has, let's say 3 pairs, and he was getting, something like 40 babies a year, which is a lot less than what he's getting right now, that would be doable. He could sell those 40 babies, he could make a profit, and be a successful business, and then grow as his demand grows. But he outgrew. His supply is way higher than his demand because people don't know who he is. They don't know what he does. So his demand's way down here. So that's a very important step. Make sure you do not outsupply the demand. I think that's it for today, guys. I just want to reiterate some of the key business points I said here. 1, profit is the most important thing of a business. That doesn't mean there aren't other important things like animal health and care, but profit is the goal of a business. If you don't want to work with animals for profit, then you be a hobbyist, be a nonprofit, something of that nature. But if you are a business, your goal is profit above all else. 2nd, that does not mean, and I must emphasize, that animal care should be lacking. In fact, if you want a long-term profitable business, you need to have strong animal care and health so that your customers are happy, your animals are happy, and they keep coming back to buy more. And finally, the last thing we covered is do not oversupply your demand. Do not overbreed. Take it slow. Increase the amount of breeders you have as the amount of demand comes in. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this type of video, this business vlog type video. I did it off the cuff. I didn't really script anything out for it. I just sat down and talked to you guys. If you did enjoy it, please leave a comment. Let me know you want to see more about the inside tips about how to run a reptile business or any business. And finally, like, subscribe, share. All of that stuff is really helpful for me so I can keep making these videos. And hopefully these videos are helpful for you so that you guys can learn, do you want a business? And if you do want a business, how to go about it. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.